Before we start, this story is inspired by real events. Sign up, because the next attack may happen while you're watching. No one noticed in the first minute, but something breathed inside the net. It wasn't a common virus. Not even hackers looking only for money. It was like an invisible pressure bursting inside. The traffic multiplied without control. Packages that came from everywhere and from nowhere at the same time. Firewalls screaming in silence. Routers going into convulsion. DNS stumbling on the tables themselves. The lights began to flash. The internet felt pain for the first time. A pain that didn't fall in the media. Because who should warn? He was the first to be silent. Sites that never go off the air. They parked in the digital darkness. Support numbers tipped. Messages could not be born. It was just the beginning. And no one was prepared. Not even governments. Neither companies. Not even who created the network itself. The internet started to die. And no one knew who was killing her. The attack did not ask for ransom. I didn't leave a signature. I wasn't looking for attention. All I did was grow up. And keep growing. White heavy checkmark technology giants shook. But they tried to look calm. The falls were called instability. As if it were just rain. But the engineers knew. In the basement, the servers screamed. A Chinese company was the first. Disconnecting to survive. But, when leaving the network, she became an immediate target. The pressure increased as revenge. Invisible we intertwined in her. Customers lost access. The systems stopped breathing. The company deleted from the searches. Overnight. As if it had never existed. And with her, millions of users. Stories, files. Entire memories were torn out. Panic began in closed groups. Experts exchanging desperate alerts. This is not normal. It's not human. It doesn't come only from one side. 200 TBPS attacks. Then 400. Then a number that they couldn't even measure. It was as if the internet itself was used as a weapon against herself. White heavy checkmark the first public victim. It wasn't a news site. Not even a social network. It was the money. Banks began to fall one by one. Payments froze. X became an impossible dream. Transactions refused. Cryptocurrencies trapped in limbo. Who had money? I couldn't use it. Who should? I was free. Chaos knocked on the physical doors. Locked ATMs. Lines that didn't walk. People learned a painful lesson. The world has no offline backup. No internet. Civilization turns off the lights. And that's exactly what started happening. Every request for help. It turned more traffic on the network. Feeding the monster. Strengthening the attack. There were those who tried to warn. The system can't take it anymore. But no one listened. Because the messages didn't arrive anymore. If you're here so far, leave the like so that this alert reaches more people. White heavy checkmark an ordinary dawn. Servers working at the limit. Ignored alerts. As always. Because every system thinks it's invincible. Until the moment it fails. And that moment would come. With strength. As never before registered. Packages traveling without rest. Millions per second. Then billions. Then trillions. Firewall lines burning. Logins failing en masse. Ping increasing like fever. Switches collapsing. Traffic jam in the global network. Crazy telecoms. Analysts trying to understand. If it was a bug. If it was war. Or if someone decided. Pull the socket of civilization. But there was no outlet. Just an endless rain of accesses. Coming from everywhere. At the same time. Of machines that don't think. But they obey. And they obeyed. Non-stop. Without mercy. For no reason. In addition to destroying. White heavy checkmark first a bank fell. Then another one. Then all at once. Cards refused in supermarkets. Queues increasing. Locked ATMs. Silent panic spreading. Before the declared chaos. Radios reporting instability. Presenters trying to calm down. But not even they knew anything. Stock exchange interrupted. Investors watching fortunes evaporate. Companies shutting down systems. Hoping not to lose everything. Connected cars failing on the roads. Traffic signs frozen in red. Planes on the ground. No return forecast. Hospitals without communication. Postponed surgeries. Lives sticking by a thread. Not because of illness, but for too dependent technology. And prepared for less. For when the whole world decides to attack. To yourself. White heavy check mark on social networks. No one could post. The silence was scarer. That any rumor. Powerless influencers. Governments without pronouncements. Official channels down. People discovered loneliness. From an unanswered internet. Chatbots on loop. Systems trying to restart. As if they could wake up from a nightmare. But the attack continued. Faceless. No subscription. No ransom request. It wasn't ransomware. It wasn't invasion. It was a total lockdown. The reverse flow of online humanity. Turning digital concrete. And stopping the real world. In endless seconds. That looked like the end. Of everything we know. As an everyday. White heavy checkmark. The first theories emerged. Hackers from a rival nation? A rebellious AI? A catastrophic human error? Or all the options together? Digital defense teams. They tried to identify a source. But each answer. It generated another question. The attack was too distributed. Too coordinated. And too smart. To be just virtual vandalism. Someone pressed the button. But who? And why? Experts repeated. We've never seen anything like this. While the world was watching. Without being able to do anything. In addition to waiting. That the next critical system. Wasn't that one? What do you need to stay alive? Because on that day. Everyone found out. That the internet breathes. And when she stops. We stop together. Entire cities saw the traffic lights go out at the same time. Red lights frozen in chaos. Drivers without direction. Sirens who couldn't ask for passage. The traffic became a stagnant jungle. And each horn looked like a lost cry for help. In the hospitals. Equipment that depended on the connected world. Now they fought alone. The internet, which used to save lives. Now I took it off. Firefighters trapped in locked automatic doors. Children in dark elevators. People trying to call for help. But the digital silence was absolute. No signal bar. No message delivered. Only the sound of the collective taboo. The fear of being disconnected. From the world. Of security. Of the life that has always been online. And that now it no longer existed. White heavy check mark. The chaos wasn't noisy. It was a deafening silence. An invisible collapse. That no one could touch. The threat had no face. No manifesto. No scream. Only zeros and some plunging into darkness. An algorithm without loyalty. Without ideology. No remorse. The attack reached everything. The weather. The money. The feelings. Even the notion of the future. The world realized. That I didn't need a bomb. To collapse. I just needed the internet. Stop breathing. For a few more minutes. White heavy check mark. Meanwhile. In the basement of desperate buildings. Technicians tried to understand the impossible. Cables were torn off. Restarted servers. How to turn off and turn on again. Cure an apocalypse. Reports emerged. Huge numbers. Malicious packages. Flows without origin. Or better. With many origins. Too much. A hydra made of zombie computers. Hijacked machines. Innocent people feeding the destruction. Without even knowing. White heavy check mark on the surface. The despair grew. Inaccessible bank accounts. Passwords that don't respond. Lost transfers in digital limbo. Cards refused everywhere. Who had paper? survived better. Who only knew the virtual, lost everything, because the money. It was just an idea. And the idea, I was offline. Capitalism took a nap, and the world fell together. White heavy checkmark governments tried to respond. They said it was temporary, that the engineers were in control. But no one believes in those who lie by profession. The population wanted real answers, and not decorated speeches. Experts argued in the dark, while the population screamed in the light. Clogged phone lines, newscasts returning to analog, posters on poles, asking for calm. But the panic, it was faster than ink and paper. White heavy checkmark on social networks that no longer existed. The conspiracy multiplied even without connection. Messengers running through the streets, counting different versions. A hacker attack, an angry super AI, spies from the East, digital terrorism, or maybe something much bigger. The truth doesn't matter when fear has already won. The rumor is a weapon, and humanity. He began to point her to herself. White heavy checkmark suddenly. A part of the network came back, slow, trembling, like a patient coming out of surgery. Some apps flashed life. Old messages arrived late, and profiles disappeared forever. The logs showed holes. Entire files have disappeared. Deleted conversations. Corrupted identities. As if the attack. I wanted to rewrite the past. And maybe the future too. White heavy checkmark in digital bunkers. The last guardians of global infrastructure. They sweated cold, trying to track the enemy. But the invader was not in a country, not even in a group, not even on a device. It was decentralized, like the internet itself. There was nowhere to attack. There was nothing to destroy, because the enemy, it was the network itself, against herself. And the world watched helplessly. White heavy checkmark countries closed borders, not for war, but out of panic. The misinformation was the virus, and there was no vaccine. Each one accused the other. Each side declared itself a victim, and guilty at the same time. No one was clean. Everyone depended on the same network, and everyone was failing together. Globalization. He showed his bitter truth. A current is only strong, even the weakest link, to fall. White heavy checkmark the attack decreased. Not because the heroes won, but because the aggressor. I had already proven the point. The message was clear. We are fragile. We trust too much. No one disclosed responsibility. No group assumed the glory. Because it wasn't about visibility, but of control. Now everyone knew. What a simple DDoS attack. It could bring down the entire planet. Whenever you wanted. Again. White heavy checkmark the worst DDoS attack in history may have been just a test. And you, are you prepared for the next shutdown? Sign up so you don't stay in the dark when the world falls again.